You are too soft, too forgiving, too easily broken by the world. That is why they manipulate you, walk over you, and forget you. But today, we will rebuild you, not as a victim, not as a dreamer, but as a ruthless strategist. Because Machiavelli didn't believe in weakness, and neither should you. The world doesn't wait for the weak to rise. It forgets them, buries them, rewards only the ones who understand one truth. You must rebuild yourself not as a better person, but as a better weapon. This is how Machiavelli would do it, and this is how you will do it too. Before you build an empire, you must raise the old village. Before you forge a sword, you must melt the metal. And before you become powerful, you must destroy the fragile version of yourself that allowed weakness to take root. Most people think growth is about adding something, another skill, another book, another goal. But the truth Machiavelli understood is this: transformation is not addition, it is destruction. Look around you. Most people carry broken identities, half-formed beliefs, borrowed values, and learned helplessness. They pile on productivity hacks and self-help slogans like paint on a crumbling wall, but the cracks always show. Eventually, the structure collapses. Why? Because the foundation was never rebuilt. That is why the first step in rebuilding yourself like a ruthless strategist is not progress, it is demolition. You must begin by asking a brutal question. What part of me deserves to die? That is not poetic, that is tactical. If there is a part of you that always apologizes to avoid conflict, it must go. If there is a part of you that waits for permission, it must be exiled. If there is a part that seeks validation, it must be executed. This is how Machiavellian power begins, not with motivation, but with merciless clarity. What holds you back isn't that you don't know enough. It's that you're still trying to win while dragging your broken self behind you. The version of you that over-explains, that hesitates, that tries to be liked by everyone. It was programmed by fear, by school, by parents, by a society that wanted you manageable, not powerful. And here's the strategic truth. You cannot build a fortress of command using bricks made of fear. You must strip it all down, not symbolically, literally. You must isolate, withdraw, study your own patterns like a general studies the terrain before a war. What makes you flinch? What triggers your anxiety? What words from others cause your behavior to shift? These are not just quirks, they are invisible chains. Chains you wear without seeing them because you've worn them so long they feel like skin. To rebuild yourself means to hunt these patterns and break them one by one. You must become cruel to the version of you that has betrayed you for so long, the one that said yes when you meant no, the one that avoided conflict at the cost of your dignity, the one that begged instead of negotiated. That version must not be pitied, it must be dismantled. Machiavelli knew that weakness invites vultures. It doesn't matter how good you are or how noble your intentions. If you carry weakness like a scent, the wolves will find you, and they will tear into you. Not because they are evil, but because the world operates by dominance, not fairness. That is the game. And unless you learn to rebuild yourself with full awareness of this game, you will always be a piece on someone else's board. The rebuilding begins in silence, in solitude.
you must retreat to plan your war. This isn't about becoming louder or more energetic. It's about becoming more precise, cold, observant. The world praises the loudest voice in the room, but Machiavelli would smile and ask, who controls that voice? Who benefits from the noise? That's the mind you must cultivate, and to do that, you must become an architect of your own inner world. Every habit, every thought, every interaction must be scrutinized under a new law. Does this serve my power, or does it feed my weakness? You may find you need to disappear for a while, not from the world, but from your old self. People will notice. They'll say you've changed, that you're distant, colder, more focused. Good. That means it's working. The old you, the agreeable, anxious, unstrategic you, is dying. And from that silence, something sharper is emerging. Power is never granted to the one who wants to be liked. It is granted to the one who no longer needs anything from anyone. But to reach that level, you must first destroy the psychological dependencies you've carried your whole life. The need to be understood, the need to be praised, the need to belong. These are not virtues. These are soft spots. And every soft spot is a weakness a stronger man can exploit. Think like a sculptor, not a dreamer. Remove what is unnecessary. Cut deep. Rebuilding isn't about becoming more. It's about becoming less. Less emotional, less reactive, less available. And in that subtraction, a higher form of you will emerge. Not softer, not kinder, not more enlightened, but more feared, more respected, more in control. And once you begin to see the world not through the eyes of a hopeful servant, but through the cold, calculating lens of a strategist, you realize the game was always rigged. You just weren't playing it correctly. You weren't ruthless enough with yourself. Now you are. Emotion is a luxury reserved for those who can afford to lose. But you, if you are to rise, cannot afford such waste. You cannot walk the path of power with your heart on your sleeve and your mind clouded by feelings. That is the first rule of strategy. Detach or be destroyed. The man who reacts emotionally is not a man. He is a puppet yanked by strings he cannot see, controlled by those who understand the game better than he does. Machiavelli warned us, when a ruler allows himself to be guided by love, guilt, or sympathy, he will not rule for long. The world is not kind to those who feel too much. In fact, it consumes them. Think of how many times your emotions have led you to say something you regret, trust someone you shouldn't, hold back when you should have struck, or chase peace when you needed war. Your emotions are not your guides. They are your weaknesses dressed as virtue. To rebuild yourself like a ruthless strategist, you must learn to think like a commander, not a follower. You must rise above the battlefield emotionally and look down on it from a higher place, like a chess master seeing all the pieces. Not just your pieces, but everyone else's. Their next move, their desperation, their fear, their ego. The emotional man can't see these things because he is blinded by his own storm. But you must learn to stay calm in the fire. Detachment is not coldness, it is controlled. Detachment is the ability to pause when others panic. It is the ability to say nothing when someone tries to provoke you. It is the discipline to walk away from an insult, not because you are weak, but because you already see 10 moves ahead and you know their words don't matter. Their actions don't matter. Only the outcome matters. The weak man needs to react. The strategist waits. When someone betrays you, your first instinct will be to explode, to confront them, to show them your pain. That is the emotional impulse. But the strategist thinks, why did they do this? What do they want? What do they fear? How can this benefit me? Can I use this betrayal to expose their intentions, to shift alliances, to test the loyalty of others? Every emotional event is an opportunity for strategic movement, if you are detached enough to see it. Emotional people are predictable. You know exactly how they'll respond when angry, afraid, jealous, or humiliated.
But the detached man is unreadable. He creates fear, not by threats, but by his silence. He doesn't chase apologies. He doesn't seek closure. He does not explain. He observes. He calculates. And then, when the moment is right, he acts decisively, without remorse. People will call you cold. Let them. That means your mask is working. Because behind the mask is not emptiness, but strategy, ruthlessness, vision. A man who knows what he wants and knows what must be done to get it. You are not here to be liked. You are here to move pieces, to control outcomes, to protect your empire. Whatever that empire is, your mind must be your fortress, impenetrable, unshaken. Not even your own emotion should be allowed inside without permission. Understand this clearly. Emotions are not bad, but they must be subordinate. They must kneel before your logic, not rise above it. Most people are ruled by their mood. If they feel tired, they give up. If they feel offended, they retaliate. If they feel insecure, they sabotage. This is how the average man lives, like a slave to every passing feeling. But you are no longer average. When you detach emotionally, you begin to see everything differently. You don't just listen to what people say, you observe how they say it. You don't just hear compliments, you question motives. You don't just see conflict, you analyze power shifts. This is the eye of the strategist, the man who is no longer reacting like a child, but planning like a ruler. Even in your relationships, emotional detachment gives you power. It doesn't mean you never love. It means your love is a choice, not a prison. It means you don't need the other person, you value them, and that value can shift. That gives you strength, because the moment you need, you lose. Machiavelli knew those who depend emotionally on others will always be dominated by them. If someone knows you can't live without them, they will use that against you. But if they feel you could walk away at any moment with calm indifference, their respect will double, and so will your leverage. This is not about becoming heartless. It is about placing your heart under your command. You must stop expecting the world to understand your feelings. Stop demanding fairness. Stop hoping others will see things your way. That is not how the strategist thinks. The strategist sees people for what they are, not what he wishes they were. And he uses that clarity to build alliances, crush threats, and position himself where he can never be moved again. You are not the emotional version of yourself anymore. You are no longer the man who panics when plans collapse, who begs when he's afraid to lose, who falls into despair when he's disrespected. That man was predictable, vulnerable, easy to play. Now you are a strategist, calm, silent, aware. Because once you control your emotional responses, you begin to control everything else. And when that control becomes effortless, the world becomes yours to shape. The world does not reward truth, it rewards perception. The man who controls the story controls the outcome. And while the honest man waits for recognition, the strategic man constructs his image, carves it out like a weapon, and watches how the world bends to it. That is the power of perception. That is the power Machiavelli understood, and you must master. It is not enough to be good. It is not enough to be competent, intelligent, or moral. If the world does not see you that way, you are nothing. Reality, as most people experience it, is shaped by the illusions crafted by stronger men. Politicians win not because they are better, but because they look better. Leaders dominate not because they are smarter, but because they sound more decisive. In war, the first casualty is always truth. In life, it is usually you. If you don't control how you are seen, you may think you are being noble by being transparent. You may think honesty will earn your respect, but the world doesn't care what you are inside. It reacts to the mask you wear. That is the brutal law Machiavelli lived by. Appearance over essence, perception over reality. And if you do not begin shaping how the world sees you, the world will assign you a role, one you will be trapped in, powerless to escape. The weak believe that image is vanity. The powerful know that image is influence. People will judge you before you speak. They will place you in a hierarchy the moment you enter a room, and they will either respect you or dismiss you, based not on who you are, but on what they perceive you to be. The clothes you wear, the tone of your voice, the words you choose, the way you stand, all of these are tools. Tools for manipulation, tools for domination, or tools for self-destruction if you're careless. So if you want to rebuild yourself like a ruthless strategist, you must learn to craft your image deliberately. This is not about pretending to be something you are not. It's about choosing which parts of yourself to emphasize and which parts to conceal. You must become your own sculptor. You must become the architect of the myth that surrounds your name. Ask yourself, what do people feel when they hear my name? Do they feel fear? Do they feel admiration? Do they feel nothing? That is your brand. And if it is not serving your strategy, it must be redesigned. Let go of the childish need to be completely known. Nobody wants the full truth of who you are. They want a symbol they can categorize. So give them one, a version of you that is intentional, composed, unshakable, elusive. Control your presence in the way a general controls terrain. Your words must be rare and valuable. Your silence must make others uneasy. Your expression must never reveal your real thoughts. When people don't know what you're thinking, they begin to project their fears and fantasies onto you. That is where your power grows, in the space between who you are and who they think you are. Machiavelli said, "It is safer to be feared than loved, but it is best to be both through manipulation of image." Learn to become unreadable. Speak less, reveal little. Be slow to react and even slower to explain. Mystery is leverage. It invites curiosity. It forces people to question themselves when they interact with you. And in that questioning, they place themselves beneath you without even realizing it. The image you craft must align with your ambition. If you want to lead, you must look like you belong above others. That means posture, language, discipline. Even your flaws must be refined, calculated, never chaotic. The powerful man never looks surprised. He never looks out of place. Even his silence feels intentional. And when he speaks, others listen. Not because he demands it, but because his presence commands it. Machiavelli believed that rulers must appear virtuous, even if they are not, because the appearance of morality is more politically valuable than actual morality. The crowd does not search for truth, they search for consistency, confidence, and conviction. If you can project those qualities, they will believe you. even when you lie, even when you lead them where they swore they'd never go. This is why you must shape your narrative before someone else writes it for you. In a world of noise, the clearest voice wins. If you don't define your role, you will be defined by those who benefit from your weakness.
So every interaction must be strategic. Every appearance must be curated. You're not just living, you're campaigning. You're not just surviving, you're ascending. And that ascent depends not on who you are, but on who they believe you to be. People don't follow reality. They follow signals. The man who appears confident will be given trust. The man who appears competent will be given responsibility. The man who appears ruthless will be given space. You must decide what signal you send into the world. Every time you walk into a room, speak online, share a story, or respond to conflict, you are building an image. The only question is, are you building it with intention, or are you letting others build it for you? Your enemies are watching. Your allies are watching. The world is always watching. And in this theater of power, you can either be the director or the actor who never got the script. Machiavelli chose to direct. He wrote scripts for kings, advised tyrants, and whispered truths too dangerous for most to hear. And he did it all while wearing a mask of harmless intellect. Now you must do the same. Shape how they see you. Shape what they say about you. Shape the legend that will follow you into rooms long after you leave. Because the man who controls perception controls everything. There are only two types of people in this world: those who control the game and those who are played by it. No middle ground, no gray area. Either you are the strategist moving pieces with ruthless precision, or you are the piece moved, sacrificed, and forgotten. The ones who get stepped on always have something in common. They believe life is fair. They believe good intentions protect them. They believe if they're kind enough, patient enough, honest enough, things will eventually fall in their favor. But Machiavelli never wrote for this kind. He wrote for the powerful, for the one who understands that behind every smiling face is a motive, behind every favor is a leverage, and behind every alliance is a silent war for dominance. If you want to rebuild yourself like a ruthless strategist, you must burn this illusion to the ground. That anyone else is coming to save you, that anyone else plays fair, that you can afford to keep moving through life passively. Because as long as you don't control the game, someone else does. And chances are you're just another pawn on their board. The strategist does not react to life. He shapes it. He doesn't wait to be chosen, to be loved, to be promoted. He builds systems. He builds networks. He pulls strings in silence. While others are begging for attention, he's making himself essential. While others are trying to fit in, he's learning how to influence from the shadows. The strategist does not shout, he whispers. He doesn't attack emotions directly. He plants ideas and lets them grow in the minds of others until they act out his will, thinking it was their own. That is real power. Not force, no noise. Influence. Quiet, sustained psychological warfare. The kind most men never even see until it's too late. Every person around you is playing a game. Whether it's business, politics, family, or even love, it's a game of positioning. People are trying to win. They're trying to secure advantage, protect their reputation, increase their leverage, and dominate their environment. And if you're not playing, if you're still acting like life is some neutral ground where everyone plays by the same rules, then you are already being played. Think about the times you were betrayed, overlooked, underestimated. You thought it was random. It wasn't. It was a calculation. It was someone else playing the game better than you.
someone who saw timing, silence, and pressure, someone who saw what you couldn't because you were still reacting with emotion instead of thinking like a tactician. They stayed calm, you panicked. They stayed quiet, you revealed too much. They watched, you acted, and now they're ahead, and you're wondering what went wrong. This is what it means to live without strategy. It means being at the mercy of others' plans. But that ends the moment you decide to become the one who orchestrates instead of obeys. The moment you stop asking, "Why did they do this to me?" and start asking, "How do I control what happens next?" The strategist does not waste energy on fairness. He studies people, understands their desires, their weaknesses, their egos, and then he builds a plan. He knows exactly what to say and when to say it. He doesn't confront enemies when they're angry. He disarms them when they are unaware. He doesn't argue. He isolates. He doesn't beg. He replaces. Because he knows that in every interaction, one person is gaining power and the other is giving it away. To take control, you must observe before you act.
You must understand the rules before you bend them. And once you know the players, their motivations, their patterns, you begin to move differently. You no longer make decisions based on impulse or insecurity. You move based on position. You step forward only when the board favors you. You retreat, not out of fear, but to lure others in. You become unpredictable, inevitable, strategic, and those who once tried to manipulate you begin to sense something's changed. You no longer react to their provocations. You no longer seek their approval. You no longer expose your vulnerabilities. They can't figure you out, and what they can't read, they can't control. That confusion is your shield. That silence is your weapon. You have become something rare, a person who sees the game and refuses to be a pawn in it. This shift doesn't require cruelty. It requires clarity. Clarity about the fact that people use others all the time. They just hide it behind charm, smiles, or virtue signaling. The ruthless strategist doesn't pretend the world is pure. He navigates it as it is, not as it should be. He accepts that manipulation exists, that deception is a currency, that even kindness can be weaponized, and then he learns to operate in that environment, not as a victim, but as the unseen architect. Do you want influence? Then learn leverage. Learn how to make others need you. Learn how to build a reputation that whispers in rooms you haven't entered. Learn how to give people exactly what they want until they depend on it. Then and only then do you control the terms of every relationship. Then and only then do you own your place on the board. Machiavelli never encouraged unnecessary cruelty, but he demanded strategic superiority. He urged leaders to master perception, to play long-term games, to trust actions over words, because he knew the truth most people avoid. In the end, it's not the good who win, it's the prepared. It's the ones who saw the game, accepted its darkness, and learned to move within it without emotion, without hesitation, without mercy when necessary. And in a world where everyone wants to be liked, remembered, admired, the ruthless strategist asks a different question. How do I become unmovable, not popular, not pious, but positioned, so that even your enemies must go through you to get what they want, so that even your allies respect the power you hold in silence? Because when you stop reacting and start orchestrating, the entire board begins to shift in your favor.
Now you understand this world doesn't reward the soft. It doesn't wait for the kind. It doesn't crown the pure. It bends for those who think, plan, and strike with purpose. To rebuild yourself like a ruthless strategist is not to become cruel, but to become calculated. Not to abandon emotion, but to master it. Not to manipulate out of malice, but to control out of necessity. You were not born to be a pawn. You were not meant to stay broken. You were built to rise, but only if you're willing to destroy what no longer serves you, your fear, your weakness, your need to be understood. You were built to walk into rooms with presence, to speak with weight, to move with intention, and to act with strategy. Let the world believe what it wants. You are not here to play their game. You are here to master it. So stop hoping, stop waiting. Rebuild yourself sharper, colder, quieter, smarter. Rebuild like Machiavelli, and let them wonder what you're planning while you already made your next move.